उदीरयद् नष्टप्रायेष्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टकी. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. जय श्री प्रभुपाद. जय श्री गोविंदम आदि पुरुषम तमम भजामि. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. So, yesterday we did lesson 20, and we are doing Bhava uh, um, Bhakti. We are discussing that. So, the second part of Bhava Bhakti is we are going to do now in lesson 21. And a lot of things today we are going to hear we already covered in previous courses like Priti Sandarbha, Sri Radha Tattva, and others, the Bhavas and Rasas. So before I begin lesson 21, let's hear a recapping the highlights of what we did yesterday, and that is lesson 20. The highlights of what is Bhava Bhakti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. His Grace
Pranam.
Charuchandra Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. His Grace Charuchandra Prabhuji yesterday walked through lesson 20 of Sri Madhurya Kadambini course as we are going through, which have thrown a light on Bhava Bhakti stage on these 9 devotional stages on devotional practice. Prabhuji started with that. The first stage, that is Ado Shraddha, which is determined for Shraddha on Nishtha Bhakti stage. Shraddha further develops in the Ruchi and Krishna Katha, in chanting, as well as in Sadhu Sang. This Ruchi, it is being condensed for deep attachment, that is Asakti stage is developed. Asakti then further condenses into Bhava Bhakti. So that is experiencing or expressing the emotions, and so it is being called as ecstatic symptoms. They do are manifested in Bhava Bhakti stage. So Bhava Bhakti, it is of as per definition, it is being categorized with respect to the characteristic based on Swarup Lakshana and Tatastha Lakshana. So yeah, so with respect to Swarup Lakshana, it is the softening of heart. So that is that gets developed. What we can see is heart is softened, and it is the first ray for Prema Bhakti. So it is, yes, how from Shraddha to Sadhusang, from Bhajan Kriya to Nishtha, then to Ruchi, then Asakti, then to Bhava, and then Prema Bhakti, one further enters into. So in the diagram, we can see the brilliant flowers of Bhava Bhakti stage. So in that, um, why a devotee or bhakta shows the ecstatic symptoms? Because the heart is softened. So heart is not softened very easily. As we know, Bhava Bhakti is sudurlabha. It is very rare. And one gets only with Krishna's mercy. So Krishna himself surrenders to devotee. So based on this Swarup Lakshana as well as Tatastha Lakshana, so Bhava Bhakti can be defined as Durlabha. Then it is Moksha Lagutakrut. Even the desire for liberation, it becomes insignificant. That is Moksha Lagutakrut. Then Sandranta Visheshatma, Prema Bhakti is imbued with a contained superlative pleasure, and then Krishna Karshini. So Prema Bhakti is capable of attracting Sri Krishna, and one can feel the sour nectar of Krishna Prem. So we saw in lesson 20 of Bhava Bhakti 7 themes, as Prabhuji explained, as per Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries. So Bhava, the sprouting of 3 potencies. It sprouts the 3 potencies, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So bhava is sudurlabha, it is rare, and even liberation is insignificant to this devotee on the stage. A heart is melted with bhava, drenches the limbs of Bhagwan in affection. A vision of Bhagwan through all one's senses. Then the fifth symptom is remembrance of Krishna, whether the one is in wakeful stage, in dreaming stage, or in deep sleep stage. A supremely pure sense of identity, we can see with respect to devotees. Then, despite attending to conceal the jewel of bhava, it is identified by the learned. So, in the first, that bhava leads to rati. So, rati is developed because of bhava bhakti, and it sprouts the three potencies, Sat, Chit, Anand. That is Sandhini Shakti, that will be there, Samvi Shakti, that is cognizance, and Ladini Shakti. So, when a devotee cultivates into devotional service, Rati is developed, and it leads to the internal potency, that is Ladini Shakti, and it bestows ecstasy upon the practitioner. So, then a shloka is mentioned which says that when the heart has softened as a result of ruchi, a sadhana bhakta becomes a bhava bhakta. So this bhava bhakti is special manifestation of Shuddha Sattva, and it is the first ray of sun of Prema Bhakti. So bhava rati is the sprout of sthai bhav, prema, which leads to sneha, mana, pranay, and then transforms into mahabhav, the highest stage of prema. So Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. So is the Swarup Lakshan, that is intrinsic characteristic of Bha, and then Prema Siramshu, Samya Bhak, or like a ray of the sun of Prema, and Ruchibhishchitta Masranyakrit, or softening the heart by various states, is the marginal characteristic of Bhava Bhakti. So Bhava Rati is like the blossom flower of the willfulling or wishfulling, fulfilling vine of Bhakti, which has two characteristics. External brilliance of the flower, that the Bhav is Sudurlabha. And second, the internal brilliance of this flower is Moksha Lagita Krut. That is, even liberation is insignificant to this practicing devotee. So, in case of bhakti is sudurlabha. So, the one is bestowed with bhakti on this particular stage, that is Hari Bhakti, and there would not be any attachment for material sense objects and only engages with respect to spiritual practices. So, when Bhav Bhakti awakens in the heart, it even melts away the desires for dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So, all this, it becomes worthless. So, a heart melted with bhava drenches the limbs of Bhagwan in affection. The tendencies of the devotee's heart are like the heap of sesame seeds, and the Lord Himself surrenders to a devotee, and it makes a recipient worshipful for even Lord Brahma and others, and even Chandan. So, in case of a vision of Bhagwan through all one's senses, it has been seen that a Bhava Bhakta will relish all these ecstatic emotions and symptoms. The five sense objects will be engaged for Sri Krishna so as to see his form, taste, bodily fragrance, voice, and touch. So it is the sweetness of the beauty of Lord Krishna. One will feel, one will experience, will desire for the sweet sound of Sri Krishna's flute, and will develop a spurti, will get mad so as to see so as to go through all these symptoms. In such a bhakta, so we can see 33 kinds of sanchari bhavas. So as per Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, so a devotee will remember Bhagwan in all the states, like whether he is wakeful, whether one is dreaming, whether is in deep sleep state. So this is being called as Dhruva Anusmriti. So in an achal manner, in an uninterrupted manner. So, in all these three states, the individual will remember the Lord. So, because of internal vision, because of what we can say, uh, so because of internal vision and continuous realization of Akhil Rasamurti, Raja Krishna, Swarup Lavanya or beauty can be felt and will be always restless to obtain his service. So, as we know, Ganges water it flows to the ocean similarly. Upon hearing these transcendental qualities, the mind uninterruptedly flows uh, so as to achieve the Krishna Prem, and which is the symptom of Nirguna Bhakti. Here one forgets about the own identity because of ahamta as well as mamata. So when bhakti is awakened, all these feelings of this is mine, this is I myself. Okay, all everything it has been lost, and the practitioner gets a spiritual body that is Siddha Deha. Prabhuji answered well in his question answer session also. So the one develops the spiritual body, and on this raga mark, one can progress with the spontaneous devotion. And in this Madhurya Bhav, one can is just like the Vraja Gopis, which is being headed by Sri Radha. So, despite attempting to conceal the jewel of Bhava, it is identified by the learning. So, the devotee conceals the internal mood, the Rati awakens, and one can see that the nine symptoms they do manifest in the heart of a sadhaka. Then these symptoms in sadhakas they will sprout into rati, which will soften the heart of a devotee, and even gyanis and kamis, they can be mistaken on this stage. That can be called as rati abhas, and rati abhas is of two types. It is a reflection, that is pratibimba rati abhas, and it is a chaya rati abhas. If one sheds the tears in the separation of Lord, such symptoms can be pratibimba rati abhas. One can feel, and if observes in amongst the devotees because of the association of devotees, if one feels such ecstatic symptoms, so it is being referred as chaya rati avas. So like yesterday in this lesson 20 we have learned. Now in lesson 21 we'll see that how bhava that arises through raga bhakti and bhava that arises through vaidhi bhakti. So categories of bhava we'll see, then the transformation of bhava, which will lead to sthai bhava, and rasas can be relished. And Vrajendra Nandan Sri Krishna is the foundation of all rasas. So I will request His Grace Charuchandra Prabhuji now so as to proceed for lesson 21. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare.
Hare Krishna Mataji, so beautifully done. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. So let's begin lesson 21. And I'm going to try sharing my screen. Okay, I hope everybody can see the screen.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. So, as you can see in this slide, we are now going to discuss lesson 21. Okay. And this is the, let me first, just 1 minute. Okay, this is lesson 21. And remember, this is the seventh shower of nectar. So we will talk about text 2, and this is this part 2 of Bhava Bhakti. So these are the themes that we'll be talking about, we'll be discussing. Bhava that arises through either the Vaidhi Bhakti or the Raganuga Bhakti. There are differences in the bhava that we will see. Okay, and they also will see the categories of bhava according to these five rasas. And then third topic, we will hear about the transformations of this bhava into sthai bhava and the different rasas: shanta rasa, dasya rasa, sakhya rasa, vatsalya rasa, and finally the madhurya rasa or ujjwal rasa. We will talk about how Brajendra Krishna, Vrindavan Krishna, is indeed the Akhila Rasa Murti. He is the embodiment of all the transcendental rasas coming from him. And Srila Rupa Goswami is known as Rasacharya. He is the one who is the Acharya, the teacher who explains us so beautifully and scientifically the science of the rasas. So that's what we are going to hear. So here in this slide, uh, we are going to see how this bhava, depending upon particular path a devotee chooses, if he comes from the Vaidhi Bhakti versus whether or not he comes from Raga Bhakti. Okay. Now, first of all, you know what is Vaidhi Bhakti and what is Raga Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti, there are three components. Um, First of all, he, uh, because his materially contaminated senses need to be purified. So, what he does, he renders devotional service, practices devotional service, sadhana bhakti, according to the Vedic injunctions under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So, sense purification under the guidance, under according to the uh, shastric injunctions, and it's actually under the direction of a bona fide guru. Okay, so because he does not have a natural inclination to serve the Lord because of so much material contamination, and that's why he has to follow his guru, engages him in this devotional service, 64 angas. Uh, and I'm repeating myself purposefully so that you know there is according to the shastric injunctions and how it is explained, taught by his guru. Okay, so since he did not have his original inclination, then that bhakti bhav under the guidance of guru. So he's doing it actually because of there is a constant fear that he should not make any kind of errors, mistakes, so there is always a fear. So there is no natural love in his heart for the supreme person of Godhead, Shri Krishna. So that is what it is, what we are going to hear right here, that explanation. So it's awaken in the mood of awe and reverence is there. Okay, uh, uh, of Krishna, because of his divinity, the supreme controller. So he is under the impression of that supreme Krishna is the supreme controller. So there's an awe and reverence is there. Any feeling of that what we discussed yesterday about this mamatva, that Krishna is all mine, and that possessiveness, I and mine, that is not there because that is impelled by the knowledge of his divine majesty. You know, that is the problem here. So that bhava derived from that path, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, is really not the one actually. The bhava that you have to see comes from raga bhakti, um, uh, and that bhava is impelled by the scriptures under the guidance of the guru. So bhava is not really condensed because it has, number one, a proclivity. What is proclivity? Proclivity means tendency, inclination for devotion. So he is getting into the devotional path, but that is born of a fear of transgressing scriptural injunctions. So he's always worried that whether or not I followed all the scriptural injunctions, even though he's doing it under the guidance of a born again spiritual master, but he's inside within the heart is constantly worried that I hope I did not make any kind of errors in following the scriptural injunctions. Number two, a love that is mixed with knowledge of Bhagwan's divinity, uh, 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 divine majesty, that he's constantly aware of that. So that natural love, that intimacy is not there in Vaidhi Bhakti. And therefore is this I and mine, that possessiveness, mamatva, is suppressed by Sri Bhagavan and is never controlled by such Vaidhi Bhakti. So, because we already learned, right, this yesterday's class, that Krishna, when the Bhava Bhakta, Krishna himself surrenders unto the devotee. He willingly assumes a subordinate role, but here the devotee is not under that kind of loving devotion. He is a kind of awe and reverence, and that is suppressing. So Krishna, he can never a Vaidhi Bhakta can never control Krishna because he's constantly under the kind of fear that thing is there, you know. Now look, as opposed to this Vaidhi Bhakti, Bhava derived from, now we see the Bhava derived from Raga Bhakti. Here, he has this laulyam to serve Krishna and to love Krishna naturally comes from within his heart. Read how I can develop that love for Krishna uh, and for which is far superior than the Vaidhi Bhakti. So Bhava derived from Raga Bhakti is far, far superior. The devotee's affection for him is devoid of any kind of feeling of fear. Awe and reverence is not there. And there's an intimacy there with Krishna, either of these four main bhavas, Dasya Bhav, Sakya Bhav, Vatsalya Bhav, and finally the topmost is the conjugal Bhav, Madhurya Bhav. So great intimacy is there that is not there in the Vaidhi Bhakta. Okay? So the heartfelt aspiration of the devotee on the path of Raga Bhakti is free from any scent of desire for personal happiness and consists entirely concerned for Sri Krishna's happiness. So what does it mean that he is not worried about, he is not at all concerned about his personal thing. All he cares is whether or not my service pleases Krishna or not. If Krishna is pleased, then he feels pleasure in that. Okay. So now these different categories of bhava that I just talked about, the five kinds, Santara, called the Shantarasa, in neutrality, or Dasya Rasa, that is in servitude, Sakhya Bhav, as a friend, equal friend on equal level, and then parental affection, Vatsalya Bhav, and finally the Madhurya Bhav, or conjugal, that Krishna is my lover. that. So according to that, 5 kinds of bhava derived. So first we'll talk about the Santa bhava, or the one
Yeah,
in the mood
Prabhuji.
of neutrality. Yes, somebody said something.
Sorry,
Are you
Prabhuji.
saying?
Are you able to share your screen? Sorry, Prabhuji, to interrupt you.
Oh, really? You're not seeing the screen?
No,
No,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, we are
No,
not.
Oh, I'm
Prabhuji.
sorry. Let me go again.
Sorry to interrupt you, Prabhuji.
Not
Thank
at
you.
all. That's good thing you did that. Um, Now can you see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
So these are the categories of bhava, the 5 kinds of bhava deriving from the 5 kinds of these rasas, right? The Santa rasa, Dasya rasa, Sakhya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, and finally the conjugal rasa. The Shanta bhava, that is neutrality. Now here what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining, that here Nishtha only in the intrinsic nature or swarupa of Bhagavan. So Nishtha Bhakti is there. So they accept him as Parabrahma. No, there are 2 kinds of Brahman, right? One is ourself. We are also Brahman. But to distinguish from that, Parabrahma, that is Shri Krishna, Supreme, the absolute truth. And Krishna is also as Paramatma, situated in the heart of everyone. So that is the neutrality. There is nothing kind of any kind of intimacy is there. But then there is a dasya bhava coming from the mood of servitorship, that I am the servant of my Lord. So there is a master servant. There is intimacy is there, but there's a certain finite distance is there. A servant cannot develop a great kind of intimacy with his master, so that is the drawback. So here this devotee is regarding Parabrahma Shri Krishna, who is replete with the 6 opulence, because remember, he is a servant who is in great reverence is there, but see, he is fully aware of the 6 kind of opulence that Krishna has. What are these? Wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. That's why he's called Bhagavan. Bhaga means the opulence. Vana, one who possesses that, the 6 kind of opulence in full. So this servant is fully aware of that. So in that servitude, he's serving the Lord. So that bhava reflects that. Okay. The third one is gradually more intimacy is there. Now he's in Sakya Bhav. The Krishna is my friend. So more on an equal level, just like Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna is in the Sakya Bhav. They used to share the same bed, you know, and they used to eat together. The servant cannot do that. Servant will serve the Lord first. After the Lord is being served, then only he will uh, uh, honor the bhoga offered to Krishna as prasadam. But here, Sakya Bhav is much greater intimacy is there. So they are devoid of the mood of awe and reverence, first of all, in which one thinks, see Krishna, uh, so that Krishna is superior. That bhav is not there. Krishna is all equal to me. He can freely talk anything and everything with Krishna. Okay. And he is worshipful. So they already possesses the 2 qualities of Shanta Bhav, neutrality, and was Dasya Bhav. So he is a friend. Arjuna is a friend of Krishna, but within his heart, of course, he wants to serve Krishna. So serving Bhav is there, but that is within the heart. Okay. Fixed faith in Sri Krishna and natural disposition to serve him. So serving attitude is already there, and that is there. Even one who is in the conjugal rasa is also there. Gopis always wanted to serve. Shrimati Radharani always wanted to serve, So that is always there. Moreover, they also have a mood of equality. Is on a friend, on equal terms. With Krishna, that is filled with deep trust. As Krishna sakhas, when they play a game, sometimes Krishna loses in that game, and the loser always have to carry the winner. So Krishna had to carry his friends on his shoulder and run, and Krishna was willingly doing that. So that kind of bhava is there. So clearly you can see the bhavas are different depending upon what particular rasa, what kind of a relationship he has with Krishna. Okay, the four Matsalya bhav. Now here parental affection is there. So parental affection, what does it mean? They regard Krishna as their child. So they are very, very protective of Krishna and maintains a feeling of extreme possessiveness for discipline. Sometimes Yashoda Maiya, she would even discipline Krishna if she finds that, a need for that. And also, Vatsalya Bhav, they are always protective of Krishna. Additionally, possesses the mood of being Krishna's maintainer. Supreme maintainer is Krishna, but Krishna's parents, they think that they are maintaining Krishna. So that the rasa, that bhav is there, that Krishna enjoys that. And finally, the Madhurya rasa, Madhurya bhav, or the mood of amorous love. Okay, the Krishna is my lover, I am his lover. Not only possesses all the four qualities above, so neutrality, dasya bhav, sakya bhav, vatsalya bhav, they are all there in Madhurya rasa also, but it's the most intimate. But they also serve Shri Krishna with all their bodily limbs. And they are known as Krishna's beloved sweethearts or kantas. So now you can see, it seems like Madhurya Bhav, the intimacy, is the greatest. So it seems like that is the best, right? Everyone, because whatever that is best, naturally everyone desires that, right? But now we are going to see in the next slide, that is not necessarily so. So several questions that may arise. Okay, if there is a gradation of relish among the rasas that we already saw in the previous slide, starting with Shanta Bhav, would not everyone be inclined toward the most excellent Madhurya rasa? That's the question would arise, right? That if Madhurya, the greatest intimacy, is there with Krishna, why don't I be in Madhurya rasa? Okay, that question naturally arises. Okay, and would not all other rasas thus be deemed worthless? Does that mean Vatsalya rasa, Sakya rasa, Dasya rasa, they are of less important or not? What? That question naturally arises. And we see that everyone has an inclination for the topmost object. Something that is topmost, we naturally want to have that, right? That is our goal. But that is not exactly there necessarily, that we are going to see here. Although the nectarian taste of rasa is relished more, so there is a gradation. Okay, the lowest is neutrality. More than that is dasya bhav. More than dasya bhav is sakya bhav. More than sakya bhav is vatsalya bhav. And then finally the topmost is madhurya bhav. So there's a gradation there. Still, the devotee develops a relish for rati only. That attachment is only according to the previous aspiration or impressions. So clearly, like for instance, the easy way to understand this thing. If if Yashoda Maya is there, she's in a Vatsalya Bhav, Nanda Baba. Clearly, they would enjoy that rasa only. They would not want to trade with Madhurya Bhav. As somebody, the Krishna's Sakhas, they would rather remain as Krishna's Sakha and not necessarily as his lover or Sakhis. They would remain like that. Uh, Even though they know the Madhurya Rasa is the greatest, but they still enjoy the greatest rasa in their own original rasa with Krishna. That is what one has to consider. Okay, here, who will discern? So, question then arises: who is going to decide which rasa is superior than the one which is they are in? Who is going to decide that? Superiority or inferiority? Uh, you cannot say a Sakya Bhav is inferior to Madhurya Bhav, even though it sounds like that, right? Because the devotee enjoys being Krishna's Sakha or Krishna's servant. So I hope you understand that. So those who have no aspiration at all, or those who are aspiring for just one rasa, are unable to ascertain which is superior and which is inferior. So one who is Krishna's Sakha, he does not, this thing does not enter in their mind at all. They are very happy in that kind of relationship with Krishna because they have not yet relished the other rasas. Those who are full of multitudinous aspiration, which relish many rasas, and thus they also have no ability to discern this. So, but that person who is totally immersed in just one rasa is capable of doing so. So, I hope you understand that. So, whatever the rasa that is naturally there in that devotee, they are perfectly happy in that rasa. That is the upshot of what we are hearing here. So, although a person may not have tasted the other rasas, he will nevertheless understand the features of another rasa. So they know Krishna's Sakha know Krishna has much more intimate relationship with the gopis, but they are perfectly happy in serving Krishna as his friend. Same way, one who is Krishna's servant is perfectly satisfied, fully content in that rasa, even though he knows the other rasas also. It's not like that they are unfamiliar with other rasas. By this, he can conclude which factor nourishes or which impede that rasa. So now, in this slide, now we are going to understand. And remember, I told you in other courses that we covered much greater depth, like in Priti Sandarbha, even Radha Tattva, all these other courses, we definitely went through that. So here we are revisiting. So I put this slide particularly for that purpose to review, to recall our understanding how the rasas are formed from bhava to the rasas. So whatever the five kinds of bhava that we just understood, right? The Santa bhava, Dasya bhava, Sakhya bhava, Vatsalya bhava, and the Madhurya bhava. Whatever the bhava which we have that interact with this. So here, this slide, the five categories of these bhavas, the other name for bhava is rati, became Krishna rati. Ultimately, they all become Krishna rati, or sthai bhava, or stabilized bhava, permanent bhava. So one who is in a dasya bhava, that is his permanent bhava. Okay. So from that, how the dasya rasa is developed, that is what we are understanding here. So whatever the bhava is, there are five kinds of bhava, they interact first with this vibhava. Okay. what is vibhava? Vibhava in which rati is tasted, not TEST, okay, not tasted, but taste with the taste buds, So that vibhava is that rati is actually relished, tasted, and which causes rati to be tasted. So in a dasya bhav, and when he interacts with vibhava, what it means that dasya bhava is translated into dasya rasa when interacted with this vibhava. Okay, so there are two types of vibhava. One is called alambana, and other is uddipana. Again, this is you are hearing third or fourth time now. We have discussed so many times before. Alambana is the one that is the object, that is the stimulus. So Krishna is alambana. Krishna's beautiful face. He is playing a flute, or is wearing this peacock feather crown like that. That stimulate that particular bhava, that particular rasa with him. So that is what we are talking about. There is alambana. So Krishna is the alambana. Krishna is the stimulus for his devotees. Okay. Um, and then what is uddipana? Uddipana means that stimulus really stimulate a particular rasa, bhava for the devotee, for Krishna. So really uddipana, literally what it means, it ignites that bhava, particularly rasa. So here, um, uh, again, alambana, or the support or the basis of the rati, the foundation of that attachment for Krishna, is again, there are two kinds of alambana. One, there is a Vishaya alambana. So Krishna is the object of that stimulus. Whatever that is, not only Krishna, in anything that is possessed by Krishna, his flute playing ability, his Vak Chaturta, whatever that attracts, that really is the object that triggers, that ignites that Uddipana. So that's why he is a Vishaya. But also there is an Ashraya Alambana. So when Krishna could be Uddipana in that sense, because he has a particular love for that devotee. The devotee is fully dependent on him. So that itself can be stimulus for Krishna, just opposite of it. So that can be also there. So there's the Vishaya Alambana, where Krishna is the stimulating factor. Then there's the Ashraya Alambana, the devotee who is taking shelter, interacting with Krishna, can be an alambana for Krishna here. Okay. Now Uddipana. Uddipana is the stimulus, the ignition of that rasa in that. That is stimulus for remembrance. You remember Krishna because you are attracted for that particular feature of Krishna. Krishna is playing a wonderful, beautiful flute. So that itself by which you remember Krishna. Or Krishna, the way he smiles, that itself is a stimulus for that. So that is Uddipana, derived from that actually. Then the flute, like the examples given, the flute song, the clouds and the peacock, because Krishna's complexion is like a rainy cloud, monsoon cloud. So when the gopis see the monsoon cloud, they remember that, they relate that to Krishna, and they get into that rasa simply looking at the dark monsoon cloud, because that makes them remember Krishna. So that itself can be uddipana for that gopi. Okay, so when there is an interaction with anubhava, like dancing, rolling on the ground, singing, crying out loudly, these are the kind of bhavas developed in the devotee, internal bhavas, those are called bhavas, which reveal the feeling within the heart. So when they see Krishna, or even if Krishna physically may not be there, but remembering him, they get in the ecstatic power. And they begin to dance, just remembering Krishna in their mind. So these are called anubhavas. Okay. And then there is a sattvic bhavas. They sometimes look like anubhava, but not necessarily sattvic bhava, anubhava, but sattvic bhava. Why? Because here the definitions Rupa Goswami is given. All the bhavas that manifest from sattva, not necessarily sattva guna here, okay? Sattva means pure consciousness. And they are known as sattvic bhavas. Like these are the examples given: shedding tears, goosebumps, like that. In Ujjwal Nilamani, we saw many examples how Radharani used to feel like that. Even Krishna is not there in front of her. Just remembrance of Krishna, something reminds of Krishna, and that will trigger these particular bhavas in her, sattvic bhavas. So they sound like anubhavas, but they are not, because they are coming from this supreme consciousness, or they are becoming conscious about particular quality of within Krishna. And experts name them, the experts name them sattvic bhavas, as they manifest involuntarily. Remember, there's another characteristic. They are not doing voluntarily, involuntarily, automatically. Those kind of reactions develop in a devotee when they think of Krishna. Like some examples we came across. I remember in Ujjwal Nilamani, when Radharani saw simply Krishna's friend, Sakhas, and seeing that Sakha stimulated the remembrance of Krishna, that Sakha is Krishna's Sakha. By that way, they relate, Radharani related to Krishna, and automatically that bhava developed involuntarily without any effort. So, and then there are sanchari bhavas or vyabhichari bhavas. They are one and the same. Sanchari name because they come and go like waves, they develop, manifest for some time, and then dissipate like that. So there are 33 such bhavas, like examples, jubilation, detachment, and so forth. They are known as sanchari bhavas because they empower the momentum of the sthai bhava. These sanchari bhavas manifest like waves in an ocean, in the nectarian ocean of sthai bhava. They make that ocean of rasa swell and then subside, back again swell and subside. So these are called sanchari bhavas. Sanchari bhava means come and go, So when they interact, a particular sthai bhava, let's say dasya bhava, they interact with this different vibhava, anubhava, and so on like that, then the particular rasa develops. One who is in dasya bhava interact like that, then they develop dasya rasa. One who is in a sakhya bhava, when that sthai bhava interacts with this particular stimulant, then they develop sakhya rasa. They develop that particular ecstatic symptoms. They dissipate that. So there are 5 rasas. That's how they develop: shanta rasa, dasya rasa, sakhya rasa, vatsalya rasa, and madhurya or kanta rasa or ujjwal rasa. So this is basically it's a recapping what we already learned at least 3 times before in previous courses, those who attended that. So this is just like a summary or recapping that. But that is how, if somebody asks you how a particular rasa develops, so that rasa kind bhava should be there before, a sthai bhava. And sthai bhava is like a king that controls something, so that they interact vibhava and so on like that. And then they develop that particular rasa. Okay, let's take a short break, 5-minute break. Krishna is the source of all the rasas. And Srila Rupa Goswami is Rasacharya, because Rupa Goswami has explained the science of rasas as applied to this particular bhakti bhav. The original science of rasa is developed by someone else actually. Yeah, just about 1 minute. And now what I'm going to share with you, what I just explained to you, in the words of Sri Rupa Goswami. The Rupa Goswami's explanation how the rasas develop from Sthai Bhav. Okay? Here, the bhava, that bhava which resplendent like the best of the kings. That means the bhava is controlling like a king, okay? Keeping under its control that which are compatible emotions, aviruddha, such as laughter, or incompatible like emotion like that is a viruddha, that is like anger and so on. That is known as sthai bhava, a particular bhava that stabilized, that devotee that remains in that particular bhava, whether it is a sakhya bhava or dasya bhava, whatever it is, that remains his particular characteristic of that. Okay, and we saw, even though it sounds like that is inferior to the higher bhava, the devotee who is in sakhya bhava or dasya bhava is perfectly happy that bhava. Only the attachment that has Sri Krishna as its sole object is termed sthai bhava. So all these 5 bhavas that we talked about, the object is Sri Krishna all the time. Remember that. So Krishna Rati is there. So when the devotee is situated at the stage of Krishna Rati, practices the limbs of devotional service such as hearing, the sthai bhava in his heart mixes with vibhava, anubhava, sattvic bhava, sanchari bhavas or vyabhichari bhavas. The resulting relish he experiences in his heart is known as bhakti rasa. So dasya bhava, who's interacting with like that, he developed this dasya rasa. Thus as Krishna Rati, otherwise known as sthai bhava, now becomes that particular bhakti rasa. In the gradual maturation of this particular rati, it acquires different names later on. So remember that the Shraddha to Prema, the Prema we get, there is just the starting point. That Prema further condenses later on as Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, Raga, Anuraga, and ultimately that particular Prema at the highest stage is Mahabhava. All these are the sthai bhavas of Krishna Bhakti Rasa. So when the sthai bhava mixes with vibhava and the other ingredients of rasa, it creates Bhakti Rasa. So for example, one who's in dasya bhava, okay, and his vibhava, remember there are 2 kinds of vibhava we talked about, alambana and udipana. So when he sees Krishna's superiority, particular ability that Krishna has, that is a stimulus for that dasya bhava, and he developed dasya rasa to interact with Krishna. One is in sakhya bhava, same way he would interact that particular kind of alambana or like that, and that particular uddipana will develop in him, and that becomes that particular rasa for him. So it creates bhakti rasa, which is most astonishing, relishable state. When one engages in sadhana bhakti, now remember we are sadhana bhakti, we are now in bhava bhakti, right? So when one engages in sadhana bhakti, ecstatic attachment is called rati, to Shri Krishna awakens within him. When rati condenses, it is called the prema. When prema swells, its different stages take the names like sneha, mana, pranaya, raga, anuraga, bhava, and mahabhava. Again, all these things we discuss in Shri Ujjwal Nilamani in great length. This gradual development of prema may be compared to different states of sugar. Sugar cane, you get a juice from sugarcane juice. You keep boiling the sugarcane juice and forms a molasses, right? And from molasses, you make candy, sugar candy like that. All these things, there are different forms of sweetness in different degree of concentration, saturation, you know. So this nectar is also like that. In the same way, all the states of prema are the permanent moods, sthai bhava of Krishna Bhakti Rasa, which becomes as relishable as nectar when this sthai bhava mixes with vibhava, anubhava, and other ingredients of this rasa. So it can be similar to mixing yogurt, sugarcane, candy, ghee, black pepper, and camphor to produce a drink that is sweet like nectar. So this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu now. Those who by the influence of bhakti have had all their inauspiciousness completely washed away. Now the devotees in a bhakti bhava bhakti actually, you know. So whose hearts have consequently become full of delight, eligible for Shuddha Sattva, Visheshatma. That is the one of the characteristics of Bhava Bhakti. And radiant, fully enriched with that kind of knowledge, who are always deeply attached to Srimad Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam is nothing but Krishna's intimate pastimes with his devotees, who feel perpetual delight in associating with Rasika Bhaktas. So Dasya Bhav, he would interact, he would feel relish when he see another Dasya Bhav, Dasya Bhakta. You know, like who always remain absorbed in that confidential sadhana of developing prema. So he will associate with other intimate, if it is Dasya Bhav, another servant of Krishna. If it is in Sakya Bhav, he will interact with another Sakha of Krishna like that. And they engage Shravana, Kirtana, Smarana like that, and whose hearts shine with desires for bhakti from their previous lives and from their current life. For them, the bliss of Rati combines with direct experience of the combination of Vibhava, Anubhava, and so on like that, and becomes highly relishable, thus attaining the pinnacle. Pinnacle means the ultimate summit, topmost platform of the condensed bliss. So one is in Dasya Bhav, he will get the extreme topmost level, the closest, most confidential servant of Krishna that he will aspire. One who is in friend to Krishna, he will aspire to become most confidential friend of Krishna like that. And gopis, remember, each gopis would compete with the fellow gopis, compete with Krishna's love like that. Okay, now Vrajendra Nandan Shri Krishna is the foundation of all the rasas. All the rasas originate. So Krishna is the fountain of all the rasas. He is the Akhil Rasa Murti. He is the ultimate source and the reservoir of all the rasas. But that rasa is not Dwarka Krishna or like that. Only Vrindavan Krishna is the Akhil Rasa Murti. So his expansion may have a particular rasa, right? Lord Ramachandra, right? But nothing that compared to the Vraja Krishna, Vrindavan Krishna. So that is what is given in these three boxes. The Shrutis, while presenting the nature, Swarupa of Bhagavan, have declared him to be the very embodiment of rasa. So this is given in the Shruti Shastra also. Okay. Though the following through, what are the aphorisms? these particular aphorisms that you find in various shastras, like Raso Vai Saha. He is the rasa. Saha means he. He means Krishna. He is the embodiment of all the rasas, like that. Supreme Absolute Truth is the reservoir of rasa. This is in the Taittiriya Upanishad. And so all the shastras have particular different kind of description is there, all pointing out that he is the personification, he is the embodiment of all the rasas in full complete. Although all forms of Bhagavan are by nature full of rasa, okay, still no form other than Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Vrajendra Nandana Krishna, exhibit the complete manifestation of rasa. So just I give you an example, those who are the devotees of Lord Ramachandra, they would interact, they will have a particular bhava, particular rasa with Lord Ramachandra, but still that would not be comparable to what is there in Vraja Krishna. So each expansions, they have a particular portion, fraction of that particular rasa. Some incarnations show a partial manifestation of particular rasa, but Shri Krishna is the embodiment of all the rasas. Akhila Rasabrita Murti. Therefore, it is in him that all rasas find their completeness in every respect. So now, the sentences are very clear, self-explanatory. So just the example Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives, that water is present in streams, rivers, reservoirs. Where does the water comes from? Comes from rain, right? So rainwater is the actual water coming from the source. So even the rivers, reservoirs, or stream, they all have water, but that water originally came from the same way. All these different expansions may have particular rasa, but originally came from old Vraja Krishna. Okay, so this is the summary slide. Summarizes the highlights. Okay, so what are the highlights of lesson 20? C, D, E, F, G. So this first Bhava Bhakti is like sprouting Satchit Ananda. Immediately when you hear Satchit Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss, immediately should remind you Krishna's internal potency, Sandhini potency, Sandhini Shakti, Samavit Shakti, and Ladini Shakti. Immediately that should come to you. Okay, and this Bhava Bhakti is Sudurlabha, extremely rare, and you get it only by the mercy of Krishna himself. Regardless how many personal efforts we make as a devotee, but only Krishna can grant that. And Krishna does not grant to everyone, because Krishna himself becomes subordinate to that particular devotee. Third characteristic, the Chitta Mashneya. That means the heart is becoming very soft to experience that particular bhavas, that particular rasas. Heart melted with bhava, and that really drenches all the limbs of Krishna. Krishna is looking for that. Krishna can be served most intimately by our emotion, genuine emotions. Then the other category, vision of Krishna through all of one's senses, eyes, tongue, all these senses are there. Instead of their natural sense objects, Krishna is the sense of object. So their tongue tasting Krishna Prasadam, immediately they taste Krishna Rasa, like that. Okay. Then remembrance of Krishna in all three states, wakefulness, dream state, and the deep sleep. a pure sense of identity and possessiveness. I, the true spiritual level, okay, transcendental platform. I means that I belong to Krishna. I am his servant. My identity is being the servant of Krishna. Same way, mine, what is mine? Krishna is all mine. And I am his, like that. Finally, despite attempting to conceal bhava, so even though devotee may be trying to hide these particular 9 symptoms that we discussed, he is unable to do that. He will particularly hide in front of others. Okay. The other onlookers, they do not understand. They think he is a madcap, rolling on the ground and like that, suddenly laughing loudly. At the same next moment, he'll be crying because he is in direct connection with Krishna and he's experiencing different kind of interaction with Krishna. But the onlookers do not understand that. Only one who is well known in the science of these rasas, he can understand, devotee can understand. So these are the highlights we discuss in lesson 20. What did we discuss in lesson 21? Here, bhava arising from raga and vaidhi bhakti. So that bhavas either from vaidhi bhakti, they are different kind, that is inferior, because there's an awe and reverence because of Krishna's divinity. He's fully conscious about that. So he cannot control Krishna. Krishna, there's always a distance when that awe and reverence is there. That prema is suppressed by that. Whereas Raga Bhakta, he has direct interaction and he can control Krishna. Krishna will voluntarily let himself control by Raga Bhakta because he has that Raga attachment and that awe and reverence does not impede. No awe and reverence in Raga Bhakta. And then 5 categories of different bhavas that we discuss: Shanta Bhava, Dasya Bhava, Sakhya Bhava, Vatsalya Bhava, and Madhurya Bhava. Okay. And with Vibhavas, Anubhavas, Sanchari Bhavas, and all these things, and they develop a corresponding rasa. So Vibhava, Anubhava, like that. And then they develop Santa Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakhya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, Madhurya Rasa, like that. Okay. So here so Bhava Bhakti, when does it develop? In the typical example of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Bhakti Lata Vraksha, right? So when Asakti condenses, then becomes Bhava. And there are 3 potencies that we talked about: Sandhini Shakti, Samvit, and Ladini Shakti. Sandhini Shakti gives eternity, eternal existence. And the knowledge-giving potency, Samvit Shakti, and that gives the chitta and the bliss coming from Ladini potency. The Shuddha Sattva Vishesha Atma refers to the essential portion coming from Samavit Shakti, knowledge-giving potency. That is where the Shuddha Sattva descends, endowed with the essential function of the Ladini potency. So this is the recapping of the entire text, lessons 20-21. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Thank you so much for a wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have a couple of questions. This topic is very, very deep. Just on Vishaya Alambana.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you. Prabhu, you said that
Yeah, I
Vishaya
can.
Alambana.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vishaya Alambana and Ashraya Alambana. The Vishaya Alambana is Krishna is the object of everything, and Ashraya Alambana, seeing the devotees, the bhava, seeing the devotees developing the bhava is Ashraya Alambana. Am I correct, Prabhu? My understanding is correct, or
Now, let me explain you again. See, Alambana means the one who is the supreme object, right? The Krishna is there. But it's not necessary all the time Krishna is Alambana. For Krishna, devotees is Alambana.
Hmm.
Because Krishna is fully aware, conscious that this particular devotee has taken my shelter. Okay. So that devotee stimulates his particular bhava, Krishna. So that is called Ashraya Alambana, because that devotee has taken his shelter. So like that. So for devotee is always Krishna as Alambana, as a Vishaya, as the object of his worship, object of his love, right? But Krishna also, for him, devotee can be a Vishaya, Ashraya Alambana in that regard.
For a Krishna, devotees are a Ashraya Alambana. For a devotees, Krishna is the Vishaya Alambana.
Yes, correct. He's the ultimate object of the stimulus. That is Krishna, obviously.
If you look at Krishna's devotee's point of view, Krishna is the object. That is a Vishaya Alambana. That is a Vishaya. That is the object.
Yes.
So, but when you look other way, when Krishna looks the devotees, that time the devotees become a Ashraya for Ashraya Alambana for Krishna's eyes. Am I correct?
Yes, because this is a paraspara, interactive.
Yes.
Because there's a constant relationship between Krishna and his devotees. Krishna also personally interact with such a devotee who is in a bhava bhakti level, prema bhakti level.
Yep.
So that bond is there. So alambana and uddipana, in that regard we have to think about that. That's according to my understanding.
Yes. Thank you, bro. Hare Krishna, bro.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam. Prabhuji, it's easy to understand a little bit, at least for me, to Dasya means serving, on reverence and other. When it comes to the Shantarasa, how to understand? The example is here you mentioned that, Paramatma, the rasa like a Paramatma, they see as a Paramatma. And example given is a tree serve Krishna as a Shantarasa, right? Shantarasa. So, Prabhuji, can you little explain how to see that?
It's a neutrality in the sense. There are many examples are there. Actually, in the beginning, the four Kumaras were in the Shantarasa. However, when they saw Krishna, when they went to Vaikuntha, and Krishna came running to prevent further being cursed by the Kumaras of his personal associate Jaya and Vijaya, and Krishna came running with bare foot, but Krishna's lotus feet are always covered, smeared with tulsi dala. So when these four Kumaras, they experienced the aroma of tulsi entered their nostrils immediately from Santarasa, they become a great devotees of Krishna. So that is one good example. So in neutrality, in fact, when we talk about these five rasas, devotees generally consider these four rasas are the most significant other than neutrality, because there is a great degree of inimus is there. But in neutrality, there, as the name suggests, that's really is not that. There's no much inimus is there. In a kind of a neutral way, like that, they think like that. So Kumaras were initially, when they were in neutrality, Santarasa, they were in a kind of a supreme being. Krishna is not any kind of a particular bhava rasa like that. That is what again understand. I understand rasa,
Yeah, but Prabhuji, so again, a little bit of on that. So one is the Kumaras is a beautiful example. We see they were in a Paramatma to they develop by seeing the Tulsi leaf. But it is also mentioned that Shanta Rasa is given basically the trees and the nature and all that. They serve Krishna in a Shanta Rasa. So, for example, if you think that tree, and when Krishna was passing, it bends down and all those things, and we
Yeah,
see
yeah.
that example, right? But how to see as a Paramatma there? I'm just trying to see that, or maybe too much I'm seeing that.
No, Paramatma feature, Krishna is Paramatma in everyone's heart, don't necessarily devotees' heart. Even those who are his enemies, the demons, in their heart also Krishna resides as Paramatma. And Paramatma has three features, right?
Yeah.
All witness, everything that person does is nothing oblivious to Krishna. Okay? And he is the ultimate sanctioning authority. And then he is the Surudam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the best well-wishing friend, even for the demons also. Krishna always thinks the best what is for that demon. So Paramatma feature is like that. But when the devotee is there, Krishna personally takes charge of his heart. Then Paramatma is expansion, localized expansion. Where Krishna himself personally takes charge, means in his internal potency takes complete charge of the devotee. Internal potency means this Sandhini Shakti, his bhakti is eternal. Once started, it always remains. Then knowledge giving potency. Krishna gives personal knowledge. He gives a Paramatma, he gives knowledge to everyone. Reminds each person why they have come to this particular bodily form. Because of unfulfilled desires there from previous lives. And that's why he got this particular tailor-made body to have a best chance to satisfy his unfulfilled desires. And Krishna reminds, unless until Krishna reminds as the super soul, when we take bodily form in this life, previous things are totally forgotten. He does not remember. Krishna is a Paramatma only when he reminds, then he picks up from that point onwards. So that is Paramatma feature. But when there's a devotee, he's that knowledge that he gives, before as Paramatma gives knowledge how to exist in material world, how to survive in material world. That kind of knowledge he gives as Paramatma. But for devotee, he gives the knowledge how he can come closer and closer to him. You see the difference?
Yeah, Prabhuji, nice differentiation. For a mundane person, Paramatma is sitting it how to survive in this material world. For devotees, how to come closer to him. It's a very nice, Prabhuji. I learned.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I
Not
just
only getting out of the material
correct.
not only getting out of the material existence, but come to the much beyond than that, beyond liberation, not to become just free from the material sufferings. Sometimes material sufferings Krishna would particularly give. He says, Yasyayam anugrahami, to those who I particularly am merciful. Sometimes he would take away all the material comforts. Harishya tasya dhanam. He will take away all the money, everything, but for his benefit. So he may have attachment, you will remove those attachment and he can go back to spiritual world with him. Ultimate goal for devotee is not necessarily going back to spiritual world beyond liberation, even going to spiritual world, goal of Vrindavan Dham. There is not also ultimate goal of a true devotee. If Krishna come to material world, he would go with Krishna and assist, take part in his pastimes. Like Srila Prabhupada, to help bring his devotees closer and closer to him. So those his personal associates, they take that role, that part in Krishna's pastimes.
Yeah,
So that
thank
is
you.
the ultimate goal of a devotee.
Thank you. True.
Hare Krishna.
धन्यवाद प्रणाम प्रभु.
Yeah. Yes, Dhanavad Pradam Prabhuji.
So Prabhuji, okay, if the person devotee is like not even can call as a devotee, Prabhu, like me, okay, if not in one of the, we don't know which rasa we were, okay, I can't even think, I'm not there, okay, chanting itself is not very proper, okay, so can't think
No,
of him.
no, Prabhuji. I'm preparing the Sri Jaiva Dharma PowerPoints, and
Oh,
there's a
okay.
very nice definition given who is Vaishnava. So Babaji gives a definition of who is Vaishnava. Vaishnava is one who chants Hare Krishna. If you're chanting, then you are a devotee.
Okay, Prabhu. No,
Yeah.
we don't know we were, so we can take it. At least I think myself as I'm a Dasya Rasa Prabhu. Can we assume and then do our acts accordingly, Prabhu? Or you suggest something else? Or
No, that's what is given here, right?
yeah,
When we are in, because most of us, near 99%, most of us came from Vaidhi Bhakti level. So that awe and reverence is there. Okay. So it's when somebody is in awe and reverence, it's difficult to get into any of these any of these four rasas, other than this neutrality. Okay. Because awe and reverence impedes our intimate relationship with Krishna in that sense. Even though we are servant in that sense, but not in Sakya Rasa, I'm sorry, Dasya Rasa actually. We serve Krishna, but that because the awe and reverence is there, that's why actually in Jaiva Dharma we will learn that as long as we are in under the influence of material modes of nature, then we should really practice Vaidhi Bhakti. After we become free from the modes, then we get into Raga Bhakti. That is the message given in Jaiva Dharma. However, when we did this, that particular course, the given by Raghunath Das Goswami, that book is there, Mana Siksha. There we learned, ideally we can go both simultaneously, same side by side, Vaidhi Bhakti and Raga Bhakti. So when we do that, automatic purification takes place. So there is a little controversies there, whether Vaidhi Bhakti and Sadhana Bhakti, Vaidhi Bhakti and Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raga Sadhana Bhakti, first Vaidhi Bhakti and then Sadhana Bhakti, I mean Raga Bhakti. But here in Mana Siksha, that's probably the only where there's a teaching that both can simultaneously progress and can help. The faster progress is there.
got it. Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. So eventually, when Vaidhi Bhakti, eventually we need to come to Raga Bhakti sooner or later to develop the intimacy and enjoy those rasas, relish those rasas. And that is possible only on a Raga platform. Here we see that the bhava derived from Vaidhi Bhakti is inferior to that bhava coming from Raga Bhakti level. Because of that awe and reverence. Yes. Any more?
Okay. Got it. Understood, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are going to be discussing Jaiva Dharma. All these things are going to be, we are going to revisit in a much greater depth. All these issues will come. And we will see a very good explanation in Sri Jaiva Dharma. What is the ultimate dharma of our soul? Nitya Dharma versus Nemitika Dharma. Very soon we are going to start, just a week from now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Yes,
All
Lalita Priya Mata.
I'm actually in awe and reverence of the whole systematic concept of this entire subject.
We are all in the same boat.
Trying to understand and decipher, and
Because we are in the and as long as we are under the modes of material nature, then Vaidhi Bhakti, there, because we need to purify our senses, which is materially contaminated, and that's possible only by Vaidhi Bhakti. But if Raga Bhakti is also simultaneously, as Raghunath Das Goswami teaches us, then that will help a much faster progress can be achieved.
Prabhuji, my one question is, in Vaidhi Bhakti or Sadhana Bhakti,
No, both are sadhana bhakti. Both Vaidhi and Raga are sadhana bhakti.
Yes, Prabhuji. So in that, sometimes like it so happens that aspiring people like me, sometimes we get little lackadaisical, or in the sense like little when the health doesn't permit or something like that, and then you get a little bit loose on your regular
Yes.
systematic
It happens to me too. It happens to me
puja,
too.
like puja part, like
Definitely.
deity seva
Yes.
or something like that. So you step back because your health is suffering. So
Yes.
in that, I'm just wondering, in Raganuga Bhakti, it is spontaneous. But again, is that the consistency also in the Raga Bhakti, like how we are supposed to do in the Vaidhi Bhakti? Like how do we understand, even though both are sadhana?
No, I tend to feel even Raga Bhakti also. Let's say somebody who one is on a Sakya Bhava, he's a friend of Krishna, but many times he also may feel the same thing, that I'm really not really helping Krishna, my friend, to the best that I wish I could, So they might be also feeling the same, and even Vatsalya Bhav, a parental affection. The parents, many times we as a parents, even in the material world, we think that we are still, we could be better than we are, like that. So that would be there in Raga Bhakti level also.
But is it like it's one of the aparads, so we are not able to continue deity seva because our health doesn't permit. So because we put a
Yes.
stop at some point, that because we are not able to do it as a routine, and we
So
stop.
we feel the sense of little inadequacy, a sense of little guilt is also there.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
That is natural. That is normal.
Oh.
And that is why, remember in deity seva, when we do the deity seva, when we complete, there's a final verse we invoke, right? That please,
Yes.
Krishna, I may have committed many aparadhas. Please forgive and accept my seva. That verse we always recite, don't we?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, mantrahinam kriyahinam.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's what. So that we always do that.
But in the Bhava stage,
Is that the point you were asking?
yes, Prabhuji. So I was just wondering, like in different stages, are there these kind of gaps, like the devotee goes through, like these kind of breaks, in the sense, like it's, how do I put this? I
No,
don't
I
know.
understand, Mataji, what you're saying. I perfectly understand, and I also go through the same kind of guilt feeling. I also go through that, many a times. It happens, and that's why my daily prayers. My daily prayers every day. That's what I tell Krishna. Krishna, I commit so many aparadhas every day and night. I've been committing that. I wish I don't, but it happens. So that you always say with your heart, and Krishna will understand that, because after all, we still have a material body, at this level in our bhakti. So aparadas will always be there, but try your best, at least consciously. Don't commit aparadas consciously. Unconsciously it happens, then Krishna will forgive. And always take the shelter of Krishna, always, that please guide me. I know I'm far from perfection, and that will always be there, but still, please, Krishna, accept my whatever service I'm trying to render, So that is what it is.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So whatever you're going through, I'm going through always, every day. Even then, every day before the class starts, I pray to the Lord, Lord, please help me. How am I going to be able to explain to the devotees in today's class? Please help me, I always pray that, because I know my limitations. Sometimes complex subject matter is there. Uh, 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 that time I go through this kind of feeling, and I pray to the Lord, Lord, please help me. How am I going to best explain? How my the devotees will be able to understand this complex subject matter like that, and sometimes I'm amazed myself when I speak, as if Krishna is speaking through my mouth, I'm just his mouthpiece. Like that, it happens many a times.
Nice, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So ability to speak or explain nicely is not ours. Krishna gives that ability, and Krishna himself sometimes speaks from us, through us.
This is wonderful explanation, Prabhu. Whatever you have given, that makes
Yeah.
more humble. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So humility is the prime necessity, prime prerequisite of every devotee. Dainya bhav should always be there. Whatever I have, everything is given by the Lord. That's why he said yoga kshemam vahamyam. What Krishna says, that I protect all my devotees have, and I give what they don't have, what they lack. Yoga kshemam vahamyam, right? So devotee is always in a dainya bhav, extreme humility. He does not consider anything he has qualification to serve. But from whatever capacity, he's trying his best. And in that regard also, he requests help from the Lord. And that feeling should come genuinely, not the just false humility, heartfelt humility. Everything must come from the heart, naturally. You cannot imitate. You cannot fool Krishna. You may fool others, but not Krishna. Hari bol. Any
हरे
other
कृष्ण
points?
प्रभु जी, हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, हम ये
Yes.
समझ सकते हैं कि we are nothing, whatever is happening, we are only nimit matra.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, now I'm sorry, Prabhuji, Sharat Prabhuji, very little time, but I'm giving you, see if you can elaborate a little bit better than what I did.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Everything has been explained very nicely. There is no time, but I want to just say a few words. This is regarding who is a Vaishnava. Prabhuji said the essence of it. Anybody who chants the name of Krishna, he is a Vaishnava. Actually, this question was answered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is given. The villagers of Kulina Grama, that is in Bengal, they used to come to Jagannath Puri every year, and one day, once in 1 year, one person, he asked this question, who is a Vaishnava? This question was for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he answered the same thing, that is, anybody who chants the name of Krishna, he is a Vaishnava. Then again, these people, they came in the second year, and the person asked him the same question. To this question, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu answered, he said, anybody who chants the name of Krishna 24 hours in a day, he is a Vaishnava. And it so happened that in the third year also, the same person, I think it was Satyaraj Khan only, he asked the same question, who is a Vaishnava? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he answered that if somebody sees him and they start chanting the name of the Lord, then he is a Vaishnava. But the essence is anybody who is chanting the name of the Lord, name of Krishna, he is a Vaishnava. But for us, what we should take, I'll not give my opinion. I'll give the opinion of Gaur Govinda Maharaj. There is a book known as Guru, on Guru Tattva. This is one of the best books I have ever seen. It has got 3 volumes, and in the 3rd volume, toward the very beginning only, he says very, very clearly, if you consider yourselves to be a Vaishnava, then you are totally finished. You should always think that I have got so many defects. Actually, it is so. Do we have all the 26 qualities of a Vaishnava, what is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita? We do not have. And do we serve the Lord the best possible way, and that is in the perfect way? No, it is not possible, because we have got so many limitations. That's why we should always take ourselves to be trying to become a Vaishnava. We are on this line, but we have not come up to that level. Actually, there is no time. Otherwise, I wanted to say a lot of things about this neutrality, what Radha Govind Prabhu was asking. Actually, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or in Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, this thing is also very nicely described. But it will take some time. That's why I am not doing it now. If we get time later, then we can discuss. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I'm sure you will get more time in other classes. Then you can revisit and explain to us, because that's a very important question was asked about neutrality. No. Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, since time is up, I'm going to request Saga Prabhu to conclude the class with Nishima prayer, if he's there. Saga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Bol.
Please accept my humble obsession. All good to Srila
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna. Okay.
Namaste Narasimhai. Namaste Narasimhai. Prahlada Dahine. Prahlada Dahine. Hiranyakasi Purvachaha. Hiranyakasi Purvachaha. Kilatankar Nathale. Kilatankar Nathale. Ito Narsingha, Parato Narsingha, Ito Narsingha, Parato Narsingha, Ite Yami, To Narsingha, Ite Yami, To Narsingha, Bhai Narsingha, Hriday Narsingha, Bhai Narsingha, Hriday Narsingha, Narasimhamadin Saranam Prapade, Narasimhamadin Saranam Prapade. Vakala Kamala Bhare Nakha Singam Dalita Hiranyakasipur Tanubringam Kesavadhita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Vakala Kamala Bhare Nakha Singam Dalita Hiranyakasipur Tanubringam केशवधीता नरहरि रूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे। नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शिला प्रपात की जय, चारु प्रभु की जय, शरद प्रभु की जय, गुरुदेव की जय, ऑल assembled devotee की जय। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। चारु प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम।
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, all glory to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glory to the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, all glory to all the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. So tomorrow, so we just finished Bhava Bhakti. Tomorrow we will do the first of the three lessons on Prema Bhakti, Prema. So lesson 22, 23, 24. So tomorrow we'll do lesson 22. Hare Krishna. I wish you all the best. Hare Bol.
Thank you so very much,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna, Prabhuji,
Thank you
Dandavat
very
Pranam.
much.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna to all of you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Thank you, Sharad Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Bol.